house was right here. And then my father, they rolled the house from here to another spot.
So you were literally born in the back.
Yeah.
And we're of course standing in the back of Mount Olivet, and it's so beautiful back here.
This will be the site. I'm buried up. We'll be buried up.
And this will be your final
resting place.
In another 100 years, Mr. Wright. You must never leave us in another 100 years. It's beautiful back here. What do you think about when you're back on the spot now? Well, after 90 years?
Really, I think when I was a little boy growing up, for some reason I always think about when I was little. Always, as I was growing up, and the things I used to do, you know, and what people do for me. I always think about that.
And now that you're in this part of your life, what's left for you to do?
Do something for other people. That's what I want to do.
Beautiful.
Do something for other people.
Mr. Wright, tell me about your brothers, your sisters, what life was like growing up.
Okay, I have one brother and 3 sisters. I was the middle child. My oldest sister lived with our grandmother, and the other 4 of us lived together with our parents. My brother and my 2 younger sisters, they learned to cook, so I never learned to cook because I was the middle child. I liked to do the outside chores, so they let me do that, so I never learned to cook. This is Highway 17. I travel from Rantoul to Burt, which is about 14, 15 miles. I ride with my father some when he was working. Then after that, I had to hitchhike. I would be out on the highway about 6:30 in the morning. And if I didn't catch a ride by a certain time, my father had an arrangement with somebody that he would pick me up.
I'm sorry, where did your father work, Mr. Wright?
Standard Oil Company was the oil company up on Meeting Street Road. He used to work there. But after my first year in school, his job terminated. So that's when I had to start my hitchhiking. But in the afternoon, there was no problem going back because I always get a ride going back in the afternoon. Sometime I get it as far as Red Top, then I walk the rest of the way.
That's a good stretch of the legs.
Yeah. That's one old man out here, live out in the country. He used to drive a truck because he sell wood. And I learned a lot from him because he would pick me up, but I always had to pay him 5 cents.
5 whole cents.
5 cents. And that learned me the value of money. This same person I told you about, always I had to pay $5 to. They kept up with me, and they usually get the paper and they read the paper. I was in the service and everything. They usually read about it, and always said, you know, I was the only person from Rantoul who could do those things. But they still act like a parent. Because once I was about 35 years old, 36 years old, we were in Savannah. I was really concentrating on my career since I got passed over from making Chief Master Sergeant. One summer after school closed, Mary said, "Oh, the kids is teenagers, we going home for a week." I said, "Yeah." So they drove home. These old people didn't see me, they saw Mary and the kids. So they asked where were me. They said, "I was in Savannah." They didn't say anything. One trip back here, they sent for me and remind me that I should never put those kids and my wife on the road by themselves again.
My goodness.
That's right. And I said, "Yes, sir, I wouldn't do that." Okay. After traveled in all these ways. I did, my last 2 years, stayed in the city because I could stay with a relative. They had a store. And,
where was the store, Mr. Wright?
huh?
Where was the store?
241 St. Philip Street. And I stayed there, but I had to work in the store, and the store didn't close till midnight. So, you know, I didn't have no time to study. So,
But Mr. Wright, how did you do it? If you were working, you were up early traveling to and from school, you were commuting a lot of the day.
yeah.
How did you get your homework done? How did you
Well,
pass your tests?
I usually study a little bit when I get at home. If I get to school in early, when I was in the boiler room, I would do some studying.
But you were always pretty much alone. You didn't have
Yeah.
anyone with you,
No,
other students?
Always alone, except if in the study hall, then other students around. And I didn't have but 2 study hall all through Burke.
Just 2.
Just 2, yes. And I was in 8th grade in my last year.
What were your favorite subjects?
My favorite subject was math. I spent lots of time in math, and I always said I almost didn't get out of Burke School because of math. I did all my concentration with math. My thought was I was going to be a bricklayer, so I have to know how to figure out how to charge people and how to get material. So one year they let us work at Burnstown when was building that subdivision. I worked with the bricklayers, and I saw those old bricklayers at the end of the day that they couldn't straighten up. So I said, I don't think I will do this. And that's when I decided I will go to the military.
So their physical condition, you saw that,
Yeah,
and
I
how
saw
much
that.
they were struggling, and that kind of did it for you.
Yep. So then I decided I'll go to the military. And I always said he is responsible for keeping Rantoul people afloat. Because many people just go there and charge things, including my parents. And when we used to call him B Simmons, when he wants to go to the city to get supplies, he would tell me in the afternoon, said, I got to go to the city, I will leave early to take you to school. And that's what he did every time he had to go to the city.
He would make sure you got to
Make sure
school.
I get to school. Everybody out here, if they could do something for me, they would do it. You know, if they just go tell me, study and behave yourself, they'd tell me that.
Why do you suppose it meant so much to them, Mr. Wright?
I think because wasn't many of us leave here to go to school. See, most of us, the boys, just go to the farm when they get out of 7th grade.
But you were headed someplace special.
That's right. I always had to want to continue school. My father said, okay, you can go to school or go to work. So I went to school. And it's an odd thing. We work on the farm, and we used to plow. You know, most of the people out here had the little farm. And the first thing I did after I went in service, I got a re-enlistment bonus. I bought my father a tractor.
You did?
Yes.
I bet he was surprised to see that.
Bought him a tractor. Then later on, I bought him a truck.
So where are we heading now?
Right here. We're going to Jordan Baptist Church. This is where I start school. We were in this building right here. And the building is the same size except they put blocks around it. We used to be in there about 25 or 30 students, 1 teacher, and 7th grade.
So you were here from kindergarten to 7th grade?
No, we didn't have kindergarten. 1st grade, I did 2 years here, 1st and 2nd. And then the county building for us, a 2-room building, And then we went there and they added another teacher. So we had a teacher with the first and second grade, and the Rivers had 3rd through 7th.
3rd through 7th.
Mhm.
Well, let's go take a look.
Okay, this it's another name here now, but when I was coming here, it was Jordan Baptist Church. We used to come, and this way I start my education. About 25 or 30 of us in there, one teacher, and we just did what she said, and we sit all day.
And this is the same building, Mr.
The
Wright?
same building, the same size, except they put block around it.
It's beautiful. It is just beautiful.
Okay, Miss Elizabeth was an old lady. She lived right over there. Her house was there. And our small kids, when we come to school when it's cold, we go to her house because she would have a fire. And we stay there until the older boys made the fire in the church.
What was her name, Mr. Wright?
Miss Izza. We call her Mother Izza.
Mother Izza.
I never know her first name. No.
Mother Izza.
Mother Izza.
Okay.
And we think she lived close to 100 or over 100. We don't know how long she lived. Yeah.
What do you think about as you walk through these grounds again, Mr. Wright?
Well, I still, right now, I think about when I was a small boy, first started coming to school here. And, then like recess, we come out and play, and go back in. And I remember chalks and eraser. I had never seen a new eraser or a complete chalk. We had a white man, I guess he was some official in the school. He will bring the used eraser and the piece of chalk from the white school and give to us.
So
And
you
that's
always
what we
had
used.
what was left.
What was left. I guess they get the new one and take it to the white school.
The graveyard is beautiful.
Yeah, they did a good job.
Do you know any of these people, Mr.?
This step light, undoubtedly I know some of their ancestors, because this person was born in 1885. He died in 1945, so I may have know some of them.
Some of them.
Yeah. But I know the Step Light family.
It's so peaceful and serene back here. Can you make out the name?
Yeah, that's a Lloyd.
That one's
Mr. D. Lloyd.
died 1924.
Died 1924. They don't have his birth on there. See, because I'm a member of the Lloyd family. My grandfather was a Lloyd.
Let's see what this one is.
This is David Gilbert. Joseph Dunmeyer. That person. I know the Dunmeyer family.
You know the Dunmeyer
I
family.
know the Dunmeyer family. Yeah.
James is the brother.
The brother of Lucius. James used to live right across the field from us.
Wow. What do you think about Mr. Wright? All these folks are gone so long and you're still here, healthy, moving around. What are your thoughts about long life? You've got just such a blessed life.
Well, I think I'm blessed, and I think I live for a reason. Because in my life growing up as a young boy, I had two incidents that I almost got killed. And, well, I didn't get hurt. I survived. And I think I was left here for a reason.
What do you think that reason is, Mr. Wright?
To help people. To help people. I always said in my career in the service, I always say that I get promoted to help people, and I used to try to pass that on to younger supervisors as they promoted. I'd always tell them to remember those that below you.
And you're not done helping people yet?
No, I'm still helping, still helping.
Mr. Wright, what are the lessons you learned from being here at Jordan Baptist Church? What do you still take away?
I still take away the beginning, what I learned here at the beginning. And I look upon these graves now, I can remember those people, how they, what effect they had on my life, just by telling me to behave myself and to study. Most of us didn't have much to give anybody, but whatever they had, they give, and that was good instruction. Most of us plant, and some people have a good crop on one thing, they will share it with the other family. And that's how we survive here in Rancho. Yeah.
And the community spirit is still present.
Still
neighbors
present.
Taking
Yes,
care
still
of neighbors.
present. Still present. And that's the reason I want to do the scholarship thing.
Tell us about the scholarship.
Well, the scholarship, I always think about that, and I think we can start earlier than my plan. My plan was to leave it in my will and to leave a scholarship, and it depends on our family, who go first. So, because I have to take care of my family. But that was always in my mind, to leave something in Manalva Church to help kids go to school.
That's a beautiful dream. Wonderful legacy, Mr. Wright. We're going to help you make that happen.
Yeah, okay. Over here, and I didn't realize that you get new eraser or complete chalk in a box. We always get the used eraser and the piece of chalk from the white school.
And the school that the county built in 1938 used to be right here.
Right here. Mm-hmm.
And you described it as a barn, a big building, big two-room.
Yeah, like a barn, and had a partition down the center, windows on both sides, and that was it. And one little stove to heat.
And one teacher.
One teacher. Well, we had two then. They give us two teachers then.
Do you remember your teacher from elementary school?
Oh, yes, Miss Rose. And that was my teacher, and the other one was Miss Jenkins.
Miss Jenkins.
Mm-hmm.
What was she like?
Miss Rose, it was nice, because then you see your first teacher, you always like your first teacher,
Can you remember something that she taught you or told you?
Well, yeah, learn to be quiet. I always think how she managed us, how we sit there so quiet all day, and now the teachers having so many problems with kids in school, but she'll spend about 30 minutes teaching us, then said, okay, sit over here and read this. And that's what we did. You had to behave in school. I got accused of doing something in school, and she kept me after school. My father came from work, I'm not home. He came to the school. The teacher said I did something. Now, he was in a car. He just got in his car and went home. I still had to walk.
Had you done what you were accused of?
That's right.
Were you guilty?
No. I just was in the group.
Guilty by association.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But Dad came on home.
Came to see where I was, and he found me. He just went back.
How long did you stay that day? Do you remember?
Till So before dark, they let us go home, you know.
Wow. You wouldn't do that to your children?
No. My kids now, when they start school, and I was in a good position in the Air Force, I could leave my office. So I always know who my kid's teacher was, where the classroom was. And I used to, ever so often, I'd go and sit in the class and leave. I went into my second daughter class when she was in second grade. And she come home and said, "Daddy, my friend wants to know what I did." And she said, "I told her nothing." She said, "Well, your daddy been to school. When my daddy come to school, I'm in trouble." I got drafted. In our generation, we had World War II and the draft was on. So I got drafted in high school. I was a senior. The Japanese stopped fighting, and President Truman let us stay in school if we were a senior. But I had to write a letter to the draft board. I wrote the letter, the secretary had to sign it. I went to the secretary at the end of the school day. All the teachers was in the lobby. The screen asked me what I was doing there. I said, "Well, I have a letter I have to get signed." So she said, "Let me see. Knowing you, you may tell him come get you now." Miss Rutledge was in front of her, and she said, "Don't worry about him. He's an A student." Then Miss Green said, "He can't be." So Miss Green said, "If you make A in anybody's class, you have to make it in my class, otherwise you will not get out of Burke School." So I came back and make A's.
And now you're back at Burke School.
That's right, back in Burke School.
2017.
Yeah.
The day we went to Burke High School, Mr. Wright was a rock star. Everyone wanted to shake his hand and say hello, including the assistant principal. This young man took us on a tour, and we had time to pay homage to an old friend, Mr. Marty Risher. As we walked the halls, Mr. Wright noted repeatedly how much better things were. He was thrilled that people in 9th grade could learn about college and had access to guidance counselors. As we walked the halls, he talked about the importance of people helping young people figure out what they wanted to do with their life, and he was grateful for the wealth of materials. But he was also happy to see that Burke High was a place that took care of students who had the most and those who had the least. As we walked the grounds, he found the names of people that he had graduated with and the names of people who had changed the face of America. Burke High School is a very special place, and Mr. Wright, to this day, 71 years later, is still very proud to be an alumni. He talked about not being able to go to the Citadel, but noted that the education that he received at Burke and in the military would take him through the rest of his life.
Whole class, first class, considered a high school graduate in South Carolina. Before, you just was graduate from 11th grade.
So the class of 1946 was considered the first?
First class.
What an honor.
And the first class, the governor signed the diploma.
Wow, that's awesome. After graduation at the young age of 18, Mr. Wright enlisted in the Army Air Corps and became a World War II veteran. In 1947, the Air Force became independent from the Army Air Corps, and Mr. Wright began his career in the construction arena. During the course of 30 years, he traveled the world serving at 28 assignments, to include 6 days in Vietnam and 11 overseas tours. Mr. Wright experienced many different cultures. He served in Europe, where he was assigned to Germany and France. He went to the Far East, where he worked in Thailand, Taiwan, and Japan. He braved the cold of Antarctica, trekked to New Zealand, and served in Alaska, Guam, and Canada. His family accompanied him to one overseas assignment in 1971 at Kadena Air Force Base in Okinawa, Japan. With the desegregation of the military in 1948 by President Harry S. Truman's Executive Order 9981, Mr. Wright was afforded the opportunity to excel, and excel he did. Early on, he exemplified superb skills and leadership, which put him on the fast track for promotion.
In 1956, Mr. Wright graduated from the Strategic Air Command's Non-Commissioned Officers Academy. Within the first 8 years, he received 5 promotions, reaching each rank in a minimum of 2 to 3 years. He transitioned to the career field of aircraft maintenance in 1957 and quickly advanced to the position of aircraft maintenance superintendent. In 1960, the Air Force created its highest enlisted rank. It took Mr. Wright just 4 short years to achieve that goal. With 19 years of service, at the age of 37, he was promoted to Chief Master Sergeant. During this era, chiefs comprised only 1% of the total enlisted force, and as an African American, he was among the elite, being the first black chief at many of his assignments. Mr. Wright retired from Shaw Air Force Base in Sumter, South Carolina on June 30th, 1976.
What this represents, those medals is the different medals I have earned. And distinction is the Chief of Staff of the Air Force. My son had it prepared for me for Father's Day.
And you served how long, Mr. Wright?
30 years.
You went in when you were
18.
And retired when you were
48.
Wow, and you retired relatively young. Is that considered young to retire from?
Very young.
My goodness. And you look fabulous. God is good. That is beautiful. Mr. Wright, tell me about your wedding day. Tell me about your bride.
Okay, we got married in 1954. I was about 26 years old in Illinois, single, and growing up I used to like to be with families. I met a friend from Beaufort, and he had a family, so I spent Sunday afternoon with them. And I just sit, and his wife had friends come over, and the ladies start complaining about the husband not being home on the weekend. So I said, well, maybe I should get out of this environment. So I didn't have a girlfriend, 26 years old. But when I left home, there was an old lady in our community that I really had liked. As a little boy, every chance I get to go to her house, I would go just to hear her talk. When I left home, I remember good, she came to church. She had a granddaughter about 12 years old. So I sit and I said, if that granddaughter is still living, I'm gonna find her. So I wrote to my mother and asked if this girl was still there. She said yes. She finished high school, she's in nursing school. I came home, went to church, sure, she came to church. That's when I met her. And then stayed home a couple of days, went back, had to come back immediately. I told her, I said, well, I have to go to Canada, but I think when I come back, we'll get married. Kids being born. My oldest one, he was in California, and Sharon, the second, he was still in California. They're both born on Air Force Base. Okay. One born at Beale Air Force Base, Sharon born at Travis Air Force Base. We stayed in California for about 8 years, and we moved to Greenville, South Carolina. In 1959, there Mary Ann was born. And we stayed in Greenville for 4 years. And then the kids start going to school. And that was probably some of the difficult time in the service, because when you make a move, normally you would leave your family at your old base because of the kids in school. And that's what happened when I left Georgia to go back to California. So I leave my kids there and then I come back and get them.
How did you feel being away from them?
Question what?
How did you feel being away from your children?
I felt it was difficult because you put all that responsibility on your wife. She had to do everything. And fortunately, the longest I stayed from them at once was 1 year, then many 6 months, and many 2 and 3 months. And for some reason, things work out. We had no major disaster, no sickness or anything like that. So things work out real good.
Mr. Wright, we're at a beautiful wall in your home. Tell me about your children.
My children, I would always want all my kids to get a good education. My son, the oldest, when he graduated from high school, I was in Thailand and he decided that he shouldn't go to school. Instead, he enlisted in the Air Force. Then he found out that education was the key. So he got his education in the Air Force and went on to get a commission and retired as a full colonel. My girls from high school, they went straight to college. In fact, one to graduate from high school in Okinawa. So we had to make a decision, should we keep her in Okinawa instead of college or send her back? So we decided to send her home. So she had to fly by herself. I had a friend in California, I know she was gonna land there. I made an arrangement that he should meet her and make sure she get from the base to San Francisco. We know she had to stop in Atlanta, but she didn't have to change terminal. So she fly from Atlanta to Charleston. My brother-in-law picked her up and took her to Rock Hill for the school. She went there, come back after the interview, and she went back to school. So she was actually in school about 6 months before we got back to the States. Sharon, we were in Sumter, and we were able to take her to school right then. Then I retired, and Sharon and Wanda were in college. Wanda was a senior, and Marianne was in high school. We were in Sumter. Marianne had never went back to the same school but once through 10th grade. So she was going in 11th grade. So I know I had to retire. And so in 1974, we made an arrangement to build our home. I moved Marianne and Mary here in 1975 because the other two girls was in college. So Marianne could go to the same school for 11th and 12th grade. She graduated and went to College of Charleston 1 year, then went to Winthrop and graduated.
What do you think of your girls now that they're young women, moms? What do you love most about them?
Well,
each of them?
What I like about them, they all are independent. And they use their education to their advantage. They didn't waste it. They do lots of creative things. I think Marianne tried to do too much at times. But
she's awfully talented.
Yeah, but out of the three girls, Wanda is the one that is more, like you could say, soft. Mm-hmm. You know, she's in a good profession because she liked kids, so she teach. Sharon, on the other hand, is more like me. She likes to be an authority. So therefore, she went into the Air Force. And actually, she retired as a full colonel.
That's awesome.
When she left the Air Force, she was over all of the nurses in the Air Force. She was responsible for their assignment and for their training in the Air Force. One thing she did in the Air Force, since she was in the position, she requested from Congress some money to recruit nurses.
That's
and
amazing.
They grant her, I don't know how much, I think $7 million. And then she go around to these colleges and offer scholarship.
That's fabulous.
So right now she get many calls from kids that she got into the Air Force and they advanced. As they advance, they tell her about their promotion and things like that.
That's awesome. Wright, please don't get up there. Mary Ann will have my hide if something happens to you.
No, I'm not. I'm just going right here.
Wow.
You want to ring again? Okay. The church, it means a lot to me. By traveling around, I went to many different churches, and I see how they operate, and I see how we operate here. And I always thought we could do better. So I came back home and I decided to do whatever I can to do. And first thing we had to do was build a church because our old church wasn't fit to come in. So I used to try to do things here. And one Saturday I was here repairing a leak in the ladies' restroom. And all of a sudden I find myself on the ground because the floor was rotten. That same 100-year-old lady, she's lived across the street. And lots of time you have an idea, you're talking to people, but they don't receive it. You got to find somebody who they would listen to. So I sent for her, she came over and looked. She said, "What you want me to do?" I said, "Just tell the people we need to do, start on this church." So she got up and talked to the people, and the people started.
Your family has been here how many years now?
My family, from birth.
From birth?
Yeah, from birth.
So that's certainly 90 years, but and your mom
my,
and dad?
My great-grandfather was one of the original person in the church.
Your great-grandfather?
Great-grandfather.
What was his name?
His name was Cecil Lloyd.
Mr. Cecil Lloyd.
Cecil Lloyd.
And now here it is as you are preparing to celebrate 9 decades.
Yeah.
Mount Olivet has played such a huge role in your foundation as a young man in your family life, growing up. It's just an amazing story, an amazing legacy, and we know you have another 90 years to live, Mr. Wright. What do you want your legacy to be?
Well, I want it to be that I was a person that will always try. I don't say no, and I don't like people to tell me no. No, I want everybody to try at least. So that's what I would like to be. And I think I said earlier that for Rantoul community, because those old people in Rantoul really give me good encouragement. That's why if I'm able to set up a scholarship for those young kids coming up through Rantoul, because when I graduated from Burke School, we had our service in Moore Street Baptist Church. So when you march in, you don't know who's sitting in the pew until we got ready to march out. And when I turn around, all these Rantoul people sitting there.
How did that make you feel?
Great. And they thought this was the greatest thing happened to Rantoul. Okay, my first year at Burke, I came home and I went to work on the farm because I was only about 14 years old. We used to plow. For some reason, those roads was real long. The farm was on Johns Island. Sonny Gregory was the foreman, and the owner was Garrity. He was a white man, that he would get a new car every year. And August, he always give the farm hand a raise because they're getting ready for the season. And it just so happened I was at the end of the row when he was telling Sonny Gregory, you can tell the mans that Monday they start get the pay raise. Sonny Gregory replied, yes, boss, I will. But that boy out here named Ed, you're gonna waste your money. His daddy sent him to school last year, and he gonna send him again this year. Don't give him a raise.
Oh, no.
I turned around and I was going to the other end. All I could see was that mule. I looked, a couple of old men there working with me. I said then, I will fix him. When Burke School, see, I decided to stay out of school about a couple of weeks.
Why?
To get extra money to buy extra pants.
Okay.
So I said, I will fix him. when Burke School opened, I will be there, and I will get out of Burke School without that 25 cents. And that's what I did.
Wow.
Now, later in my career, after I got in a responsible position, a supervisor position, we were getting men in the Air Force that didn't finish high school. My job was to counsel them, find out why they didn't finish high school. They tell me almost the same story.
Of what you had been through.
Of what I had been through. So therefore I said, you know, Mr. Gregory did me a favor. When I go home, I'm gonna find him and thank him. But when I got home, he had already died. He have a grandson, is his image. The height, the voice, and everything. So I always see him in church, but I never get a chance to talk to him. So one day in the doctor's office, he was sitting there. I said, I want to talk to you. So we sit and talk. I told him that story. I said, I want to thank your grandfather, so I will thank you. And he said, you know, the Lord always knows what to do. You didn't need that 25 cents.
Isn't that something? I'm glad he received you so positively.
Yeah, especially if I tell him I was mad with his grandfather.
Happy 90th birthday, Chief Wright. This is Kowalski Salter broadcasting to you from the Military History Gallery in the National Museum of African American History and Culture, where I have the honor to be the curator of this gallery entitled Double Victory, the African American Military Experience. In this military gallery, we tell the complete story of African Americans in the military with thematic stories, and we also have a chronological sweep, as you can see, starting with the American Revolution, and it goes on to the Mexican-American War, the American Civil War. It starts with the Indian Wars. We have a theater in the gallery. We have some thematic sections, as you see over here. But continuing on with the chronological sweep, we're in World War I, World War II. We also have a section on African American Medal of Honor recipients. We continue on with World War II, and then the Korean War. We know you served during the Korean War era, the Vietnam War era, and also the War on Terror. But we also have an aspect in this gallery called the Wall of Service. And the Wall of Service is where we have images of some significant people in our American history. And sir, you are a significant person in our American history, and there you are in the National Museum of African American History and Culture. And we thank you for being a friend to the Salter family and a mentor to me, going back to Okinawa, Japan, when I was only 7, 8, or 9 years old. Happy 90th birthday.
Good evening, Brother Wright. It is with pleasure and gratefulness that I take this opportunity to wish you a happy 90th birthday. And I've got to admit that I hadn't been with you all of those years, but I've been with you through the last 26 at Mount Olivet's Church. And it has been a learning experience for me. You're wise beyond anyone that I've known in this world, and I see you as one who has taken the time to help me to learn the things that I know that I can continue the work of the ministry. The Lord bless you and keep you. It is my prayer that the Lord allow you to live as long as you desire, that you might continue to be a blessing not only to me, but all of those who you've been a blessing to. I pray the Lord's continued blessing upon you. And once again, happy 90th birthday to you. It is with joy and with great gratitude that I wish you this blessed birthday. God.
Good evening, I'm Pastor Morrison, pastor of New First Missionary Baptist Church. I am here to wish Brother Wright, my friend and my brother, a very happy 90th birthday. My brother, you have made 80. God is good to you. what I look for in an individual, and I met this man about 4 years ago. I've seen him over the years, but met him 4 years ago. And what I look for is the light. The Bible said, let your light shine before men, that they may see the good work and glorify the Father which is in heaven. And Brother Wright is truly a child of the King. He's a Christian. He's a family man. He loved his family. He loved his children, loved his wife. And that's a wonderful thing. And he loved his church, but most of all, he's surely a Christian.
My brother-in-law Wright is an amazing man. Through the years, he has been a blessing to our family. He is kind and patient. He would do anything for you. When my husband was sick, he volunteered to take him to his doctor appointment while I was at work. He also take me to some of my doctor appointments. You have always been there, and I truly thank God for you, Wright. Happy 90th birthday, and may God continue to bless you. Sister-in-law, Helen Wright.
Happy birthday, Granddaddy. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Granddaddy. Happy birthday to you. Eat more. Eat more chicken. Eat more chicken.
Good morning, sir. Tell us who you are.
John Miller, Sr.
And how are you related to Mr. Wright?
We are first cousin.
First cousins. What would you like to say to him on the eve of his 90th birthday?
I want to wish him a happy, happy birthday and many more to come.
Many more to come. What do you remember about him most growing up?
Well, he always was a very nice person to be around. And I always enjoyed my time with him.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Anything else you would like to say?
No, that's about it.
That's it. Thank you, Mr. Miller.
This is coming from Nita. Thank you for the many years of leadership, guidance, and being a leader of our family. Thank you for being someone that I could depend on all those many years. Again, thank you and happy birthday and happy many more. I hope you have many more. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Uncle Bobby. Happy birthday to you. Yay! This is the Robinson family from Chillicothe, Ohio. And we would like to say happy birthday to Chief Master Sergeant Edward Wright, U.S. Air Force, retired. We have known you for many years, and you and your family are very, very special to us. And we would just like to wish you a happy and blessed 90th birthday.
On behalf of the Robinson siblings, I would like to personally thank you, Sergeant Wright, for all of the doors that you opened for my father and his military service. I congratulate you on a great career. We thank you for what you've done for our country, and we are celebrating with you because 90 years is a long time. We see you as blessed, and we appreciate you.
Happy birthday from your other baby girl, Adrian. My mother told me the story of when I used to walk to your house when I was just a couple years old, and also the story about when my father came home from leave one time and I wouldn't come to him, I wanted to go to you. So happy birthday from your baby girl, Adrian.
Happy birthday, Chief Wright, from Robbie Robinson Jr. and also Cheryl.
Happy birthday.
Be blessed.
Be blessed. Many happy returns of the day. And we love you with all of your heart, our heart, and we respect and appreciate you, and your family is so special to us.
We love you.
Peace.
Hello to the Wright clan.
From your friends in Texas. I can remember we met the Wrights when we moved to San Bernardino, California in 1968. And my father and Sergeant Wright were stationed at Norton Air Force Base.
Exactly. And EJ took me to the prom that I otherwise thought I was not going to go to. And I remember Sergeant Wright, you telling me how nice I looked that night. And in fact, EJ and I told each other all night long how good we looked. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Sergeant Wright.
Congratulations, Mr. Wright.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, 90 forever and ever. Yes, what you got to say, Mama?
And God bless you.
God bless you. Have a good one. Enjoy the day. Bye-bye.
We'll see you soon.
We'll see you soon. We see you now. We'll see you soon. Wait, Mama, wait. Yeah.
Good evening. I just wanted to take this opportunity to speak to you, Mr. Wright, and tell you how grateful I am that through our time of me taking care of you these many years, that you've always been a source of inspiration. You continue to show me how a gentleman should progress as they age, and I want to take this time to celebrate you on your 90th birthday and say congratulations for making it this far, for continuing to strive and do and be as good and as healthy as you are. I want to say I'm very glad and appreciative to be able to participate in your care. Again, happy birthday.
Hello everyone, my name is Sheila Waring. I am the owner of Trainile Financial Services located here in Charleston, South Carolina. I'd just like to expound a little bit on how I came to meet Ed Wright. Ed Wright was an instructor for me as we both worked together at one of the world-renowned tax offices, and he instructed me and coached me along the way. As I've said many times before, he saw more potential in me than I saw in myself, and he nurtured that. For today, I am the successful owner of a company, and I owe it all to Ed Wright. Mr. Wright, happy birthday, happy 90th birthday. We love you, and I pray you have many more.
My name is Lynette Verdell Duggins, and I met Marianne Wright in 1983 with SE&G. We met, and she shared along with Big Mary and the girls and son, Daddy, our Daddy. Now, Daddy has been good for me financially, spiritually, and emotionally. He's been a wonderful father. Our father shares the same birthday. My father's Doug, and he's Edward Wright, but he's my daddy. So on your 90th birthday, it's our regret that we won't be there. But on behalf of Teddy, Mommy, and Tony, Big Mary girls, we appreciate Daddy. Daddy, we are praying for many more years. Blessed 90th birthday.
To those who don't know me, my name is Linda Palmer, and I send greetings from South Korea. Daddy Wright, 90 years is a milestone that many may never know. And the fact that God has allowed you to see this day, this time, is nothing short of an incredible blessing. On your 90th birthday and the years to come, may you only know joy, peace, and health that comes with a life well lived. Congratulations to one of my favorite trailblazers.
My name is Sandra Wright Barfield. My Uncle Ed is a remarkable man. He is a man of God. He loves his family. Uncle Ed, you have always treated me like your daughter. I am so blessed to have you as my uncle. When I was younger, my grandmother, Elizabeth, and I used to take bus trips to Sumter and Savannah to visit the Wright family. Uncle Ed always made us feel right at home. After completion of high school, I lived with them in Charleston for about a year to attend Midlands Tech and work at KFC. Whenever I had the late shift, Uncle Ed used to let me use the light blue Dodge to get to work at KFC. He also used to let me use the Cricket. I remember going to a basketball game one Friday night, and the cricket broke down on me. I was scared. Uncle Ed didn't get upset, just wanted to know that I was okay. I remember when I first came back from basic training, Uncle Ed, you called me Private Benjamin, and you were laughing, and it was so funny to hear you laugh. I also remember visiting when I was about to go to Texas, and you put 2 gas cards in my hand and said, just in case you need them. That's the kind of man my Uncle Ed is. Kind, loving, caring, helpful, and a gentleman. 90 years and old. It's classic. Uncle Ed, you look fresh and young with every passing year. May God continue to bless you. Happy 90th birthday celebration. I love you.
Hi, Uncle Ed. It's a pleasure to be a part of your celebration today. 90 years old. That's a milestone. It's not too many things that are left standing in the United States that are 90 years old. Buildings, the shipyard, well, of course, that's 100 years old. But it's a milestone in your life, and I'm happy to be a part of that. We thank God for you and what you have accomplished. And I know that you're going to enjoy this time and a lasting memory. And I remember many years ago when you came to Mulberry and Dirt Road, and I was out there playing in the yard with my brothers, and I recall this Dodge Rambler. I'm sure you remember it because you have had several of those cars. It must be something about them Dodge Ramblers. But this car drove up to Mom's house on that particular day. And I saw this tall person got out of the car, and I was a young lad. And I said, Mom, who's that man? And Mom told me that was her big brother. Standing tall in your uniform. I thank you for visiting Mom and visiting us on that day. And when you got through visiting Mom, I asked Mom, I said, how long your brother been in the military? And he said, a long time. And I said, Mom, I want to be like him.
Hello, Chief Wright. This is Felicia Salter Thomas, the older daughter of Tony and Julian Salter. Sometimes over the course of one's life, you meet some genuinely kind people. When our families met many moons ago in Okinawa, Japan, you and your family made a tremendous impact on my family. For my brother, it was getting the opportunity to explore airplanes with you, Chief Wright. For my sister, it was getting into all the things of Wanda, Sharon, and Marianne. I vividly remember going to your invited home after school to get crochet lessons with Mrs. Wright. These are fond memories of days gone by. As we celebrate this day, your 90th birthday, I say thank you to you and your family for such wonderful memories. May God continue to bless you and many more happy days.
Hello, my name is Cassandra Salter Barlow, and I am the youngest child of Tony and Jerry Salter, and I'd like to wish Chief Edward Wright a very, very happy 90th birthday. What a wonderful milestone. When I think of you, Chief Wright, and the influence that you have effected in the earth, it makes my heart smile. Our families first met in dear old Okinawa, Japan in the early 1970s. I was only 5 years old, in kindergarten, and I have nothing but fond memories of visiting your home. Your lovely wife, Miss Mary, made creative birthday cakes with Barbie dolls embedded inside for us to play with once the cake was all gone. And your three lovely daughters played their records and they taught us the latest dance moves. I really, really enjoyed going to your house. I have always looked up to your entire family. And not just because you guys are very tall, but because you have very big spirits and big personalities. And here's a little known fact. I pledged Dear Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated because Wanda, Sharon, and Mary Ann were AKAs. And if it was good enough for them, it was good enough for me. So goes the father, so goes the family. You were always the quiet, silent rock behind all of that comfort and warmth that we felt whenever we visited your home. Today, as you celebrate 90 years of life, I want to say thank you for being that kind-spirited, gentle giant who gave so much more than you ever took. You know, we do not choose our family, but they say friends are the family that we choose, and I am so happy to call you and your entire family friend. Happy 90th birthday, and may you have many, many more.
Yes, I realize that this is 2017, and Chief Edward Wright, a very good friend of ours, is getting ready to celebrate his 90th birthday. And I know he and I first became acquainted in the early 70s while we were stationed on Okinawa, Japan. And he wore the Air Force Blue uniform, and I wore the Army Green uniform. And it just so happened that somewhere along the way, my wife will probably talk about that, Ed's wife, Mary, and my wife, Jerry, met. And they had 3 children, and we had 3 children. They had 3 girls, and we had a son and 2 daughters. And it just so happened that all of us, Chief, Mary, Jerry, and I, they had the kids in the house, we just became like family and very close. And Ed Wright used to be the load master, the chief guy on the aircraft that used to carry my unit to many different places. And Ed was the prompt guy. He was always on time, always had his crew ready to go. And wherever we was going, he was always on time. He got us there on time, and oftentimes he'd have to pick us up and bring us back to Okinawa. And one thing I would always rest assured of, if Ed Wright had anything to do with that, picking us up, we would be picked up on time, or back on time, and I could spend some more time with my family, my children, and spend some time with them. Not only were we close in that regard by way of the military side of the house, correct me if I'm wrong now, we was attending the same church, and we just had a great time.
I believe they were going to the chapel. The girls was attending the same church. Okay. Yes. And we used to pick them up in the morning and take them along with us to church.
Okay, and later on
Yes, they attended the chapel, the base chapel.
Yeah, because matter of fact, Chief was very active in doing what he did for the chapel, not just on Okinawa, but everywhere he went. He was always working there in that regard. And they're just wonderful folks. I don't know anybody who I met over the years that I could truly say a friend. Not just then, but down through the years, and even now. But we're still very close, and we're thankful for that. So we just want to say happy birthday, Ed. Happy birthday, Chief. Thank you for being there when we needed you. Thank you for being there now for us.
Well, one thing I wanted to say, I noticed when my husband started to talk, he didn't identify who we are. We're Command Sergeant Major Tony Salt and Jerry Salter. And like he said, we met the Wrights on Okinawa, and I think I really I think what drew us to them was, number one, they were Christ-centered. That was one thing that I noticed about them, their love for the church and for God. And Mary and I, you know, there's a little bit of an age gap, but I heard someone say once that everybody should have at least one senior friend. So when I think about the Wrights, they are the people that I think of as our senior friends, and they just kind of took us under their wings and helped to inspire us. They loved our children. We loved the whole family. And I remember there were times Chief's boss had a son about the same age as our son. And sometimes he would come to get our sons to entertain their son when they would have them over for dinner. And it just, so many things we did together, you know. The Masonics, we were all involved in that. And it was just one of those friendships that's hard to come by, you know. So we just thank God that they were in our lives and they were there for us. And we've kept in touch all these years and just cherished, you know, the time that we have together and able to spend together.
Is there anything else you'd like to say to the Wrights? That was beautiful.
Well, I forgot to say happy birthday, Chief. Yes.
Wish you
many more. And we're so excited to be a part of this, you know, to come and help you celebrate. Yes.
Hi, Granddaddy. I just wanted to wish you a happy 90th birthday. I wish I could be there to celebrate with you and the rest of the family, but unfortunately, I'm in Afghanistan right now. In 90 years of being on this earth, you've definitely inspired a lot of people and continue to have an impact on people today. You've always been very inspirational to me. You've been the person who I've looked up to the most. You've been a great role model. You lead by example. You work harder than anyone else I know. I just want to thank you for everything that you've done for me. You've always been supportive of me and everything that I've done. I'm so grateful for all the time that you've invested in me and all the lessons that I've learned from you. You've been a huge part in shaping who I am, and I hope that I'm making you proud. So a few months ago, I went to Squadron Officer School, and we had to give speeches about why we joined the Air Force. So I told the story about a man who came from rural South Carolina, went to school in a one-room schoolhouse, moved to the city and worked in his cousin's store so he would have the opportunity to go to high school because there was no high school in his community. He graduated with limited ability to read and went into the Air Force where he would have to test for promotion. So he went back to school and took night classes while working. And after years of hard work, he made chief and raised 2 colonels. So after my speech, I got so much feedback from the class about how inspiring the story was and how everyone wishes they can meet this man. So one of the students, who was a good friend of mine from Kenya, asked me, "So your grandfather overcame all of those obstacles and made chief?" So I said yes. He then asked me, "And 2 of his children, your uncle and aunt, are full-bird colonels?" I answered yes. So then he asked me, "In growing up, you had the opportunity to learn from all of these people?" I said yes. He then turns to me and says, "Well, you ought to make general someday." So yes, every time I tell that story, I think people have higher expectations of me, but I think it's a good thing because it definitely makes me work harder. And every time I think of the story, I think of how easy my life has been because of your hard work and sacrifices. And that really just pushes me to work hard and be the best person that I can be. So thank you again for everything that you've done for me. I love you, happy birthday, and I'll see you soon.
And we are finished. She said, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding.
She did.
All right. All right. Be free.
Give her
May God bless you. Happy birthday to you.
She done sing to me.
All right. We'll take it back to the record.
Share this blessed occasion. When people the last couple of weeks asked me, what's going on? I said, we're celebrating my father's 90th birthday, and no matter who it was, that's a blessing. Do you know you're blessed? Yeah. Yes, I do. It's a blessing. It truly is. And that's why we're here. And this is going to be a little different today because you're going to hear a lot from him. And you're not going to hear everyone else talking about him. He's going to kind of tell it himself. But that's why we're here, and we are just blessed to have all of you and just all the love that you brought forth, and we truly appreciate it. Family, friends, everyone, we appreciate it. And we are going to have a birthday prayer and blessing of the food. And how we're going to do the food part, it is a buffet, and probably 2 tables at a time need to go, only so you don't have to stand in line until everyone gets through. But it flows pretty quickly, and they're ready for us.
You've loved your family and friends, even when it was a whole lot of fun. I salute you as a husband first, for the many years of peace and love. And I salute you as a father this day, for you got your strength and courage from the Lord up above. I salute you as an awesome grandfather, and a great-grandfather too. With all the many faces here today, you can tell a lot of people love you. You are a true churchman at Manawa and a leader in your own right. Even though you might be turning 90, you still have a mind to serve God and stay in the Christian fight. Your wife still maintains her beauty, and her smile still lights up the room. With you and her on the same team, the Lord has truly brought you through. Your children are honored today for the sacrifices you've made in life's journey. You made sure they were provided for, and the fruit of your labor is now what you see. I know personally you are a man of wisdom, humble, direct, no nonsense, but yet free. And look how blessed you are to be 90 years old, and it shows that you're walking with thee. Continue to share your wisdom, your life, and love for as long as life can be. The day we chatted in Dr. Gleaton's office, Mr. Wright, please know you truly blessed me. Keep pressing forward, brother. Don't get weary, for your work is still not yet done. Say what you want, do what you will, but invite me back when you turn 91.
Okay, go.
Our father thank you on his granddaddy's birthday in Devon. And it's happy of the heart is always in our hearts because it's the great day. It's December. You always have to give some grown-ups people gifts of its Christmas.